The CBO came out with a new report just this past week that said if you look at the deficit just for this year, so they had projected the deficit would be $1.6 trillion, but because of Biden's student debt amnesty plan and also the Ukraine and Israel funding bills, that deficit is now expected to go up from $1.6 trillion to $1.9 trillion, and that's just for this year.
Welcome to The Debrief, where we talk with the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering and where the story's going next. I'm Sarah Bedford, and I'm here with Commentary Editor Conn Carroll. Conn, President Joe Biden, he's trying to stop the slide, the backward slide that he's had with voters when it comes to the border crisis, with a puzzling combination of so-called crackdowns and also amnesties on the border. Tell us, what is he doing?
Well, this week was Amnesty Week.
Okay.
2 weeks before, that was a crackdown week, kind of. But we already covered that. This week, he instead went the other direction. And I guess probably more with his activist base within the White House, not so much in polls with voters. Someone in the White House felt that they had to do something to open immigration up, be nicer to immigrants. And so what they came up with was another illegal executive action. They're going to use something they call parole in place. It's technically the same parole authority that they have when they let everyone at the border, except this time they do it retroactively. So what they're saying is that if you've been in the country for 10 years, which is a number they pulled out of a hat, it has no basis in statute whatsoever, and you've been married to a United States citizen also for 10 years, again, a completely made up number, under current law, that spouse, who's an illegal immigrant, has to go back to their home country and apply for a green card before they can then come back to the United States and be with their spouse. So what the Biden administration is doing is saying, we're going to retroactively give parole for that first time you came in illegally. Therefore, you're no longer an illegal immigrant. Now you can apply for a green card and become a citizen. This isn't straight out amnesty. They will get citizenship eventually, unlike DACA, where it was a temporary status and they never got citizenship. So it's estimated that about 500,000 illegal immigrants currently married to citizens will be able to eventually get amnesty and citizenship through this program.
Now, is this a one-time thing that's looking backwards, or does this potentially create an incentive for more undocumented illegal immigrants to enter into marriages and wait?
No, as usual, that is an excellent question. So what was actually stated this time was a one-time thing. So it's just for those who are currently in the country now, looking back 10 years. And they specifically said this is not applying to anyone that enters in the country now. So if someone can't get married tomorrow and start the clock ticking. However, it does create the incentive. It does create the expectation that if you stay in the nation long enough, not Biden, because he'll be dead, but the next Democratic president, he's getting old. He's getting old.
Sorry, he's getting up there.
The next Democratic president will most likely do another similar program. So it creates that expectation that somehow, hook or by crook, the next Democratic president will do some other new amnesty to give status to those crossing the border now.
You also moonlight as a legal expert, as you explained many Supreme Court cases to me. Is this structured in a way that makes it vulnerable to legal challenges? And will we have those adjudicated before the election, or it's too? Oh,
there's no way it'll be adjudicated before elections.
Okay.
The only barrier here is standing. States have got around that before. Specifically, you had Texas and about 12 other states challenge Obama's DAPA rules. That was the one after DACA, where Obama said, okay, if you came in here illegally as children, I'm going to give you legal status. DAPA was then like, those parents that brought them illegally, they also get status. So that was challenged successfully in court by a bunch of states. And basically what they said is they suffered harm because of the cost of driver's licenses. So with this case, you can imagine some type of new standing where states would also be able to get standing to sue the federal government.
We've heard Biden frequently talk about how he's cut the deficits. We don't even need to get into the fact check about how a lot of that is because of pandemic-era spending winding down on his watch. But we have new numbers that show that even that misleading talking point is not really true either.
Right. Well, just to go over that original talking point.
Let's.
Look, so you had a huge $3 trillion deficit because of COVID, because of two reasons. One, you had the spending to keep the economy afloat, but you also just had a crash in revenues because of the lockdown. And so as the lockdowns ended, those revenues came back, and of course the deficit came down. Not because of anything Biden did. In fact, Biden, if anything, prolonged the lockdown, making it harder for the economy to recover. But the deficit did come down, but again, that was because of COVID. But even then, when you look at the CBO scores before Biden came into office, and then after he passed all his spending programs, the expected deficit went up because of all of Biden's spending. But now, even as that has stabilized, the CBO came out with a new report just this past week that said if you look at the deficit just for this year, so they had projected the deficit would be $1.6 trillion, but because of Biden's student debt amnesty plan and also the Ukraine and Israel funding bills, that deficit is now expected to go up from $1.6 trillion to $1.9 trillion, and that's just for this year.
Wow, it's a lot of money.
Adds up.
Well, Conn, thank you so much for being here today. You can get more writing from Conn and the rest of the commentary team at washingtonexaminer.com.